Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So, before we get started with the analysis for Saturday, I'm going to answer a couple of questions, talk about a couple of horses, and highlight a horse that probably want to add to your NAGME. Actually, there's two that I think you want to add to your NAGME. The first point I will talk about is a message from Michael O'Connor on my video yesterday, who was criticising Nikki Henderson for entering and running Khrisma in a novice hurdle at Uttoxeter when she was sent off the 25-1 on favourite. I think he was complaining because he felt that Khrisma's going to be absolutely whacked in the handicap for that. She won't. First of all, it wasn't a handicap, it was a novice hurdle. So, straight away, they don't often get rises as much as you think from novice hurdles. Also, when they run in a novice hurdle, the handicapper looks at what the horses are beating. If Khrisma was running there and beating something from the champion bumper that had finished second or third or fourth from the champion bumper, yeah, he might have gone, okay, that was a very impressive performance in a novice hurdle. She's even going to go up from the original mark of 127 that we thought she was rated. She hasn't. She's beaten absolutely nothing here. The runner-up, She's Sonnet, had previously finished 5th in a bumper, beaten 16 lengths, 8th of 9 in a bumper, beaten 15 lengths, and 5th of 7 in a maiden hurdle, beaten 13 lengths. When sent off 12-1, 100-1 and 125-1. She went off 33s yesterday. That's not good form. Khrisma has not beaten anything there. The horse back in third, Best Women, was only rated 105. And only rated 110 over fences. Rated 105 over hurdles. Has finished, 7 lengths behind Khrisma. I know Khrisma has won it on the bridle. But has she actually run any higher than her 127 mark there? No, she's not needed to. I think the handicapper will not touch that mark. Will just go, yeah, good win. Leave it as she is. I'd be surprised if she goes up. I'd be very, very surprised if the handicapper did put her up and put her on anything over 130. She's not actually beaten anything in the race. There's nothing to worry about there. And the horse has got more experience, picked up $4,000, nothing for the owners and trainers and jockey, etc. But got more experience over hurdles. And now they can go into a handicap if they want to. I don't actually feel that was a bad effort. And I think Michael ended it with, I think he's losing the plot, Nick Henderson. I would agree on some occasions he's made mistakes in terms of running his horses. That race there, though, won't do anything. Khrisma won't move in the handicap there. I'm pretty confident of that. So don't be too worried about that. If anything, she's come back, she's proven that she's absolutely fine, and she's ready to go next time. Second point I want to make is about a race that's just been, featuring Sinatra, who ran a really good race for second. Very disappointing in the fact that we got beat by one. We got beat by a horse with Newbury experience. That's, where we liked Sinatra. We want, take out the winner. We win by 9.5 lengths on the bridle. Really comfortable. Just didn't have the pace to beat Act of Innocence. Now, I think there's two things to come out of that race, therefore. First of all, Act of Innocence previously ran in a bumper behind Sober Glory, which is good form. Dan Skelton had a horse running that race called Rialco, who'd finished second. That horse, Rialco, has since come, she hadn't run since, but she had been quite nicely campaigned up to that point, moved to Dan Skelton. They had a win at Exeter, a track they like to target their runners at. They're good ones. And then went to Newbury and finished second behind Sober Glory and in front of Act of Innocence. Rialco is probably worth adding to your NAGME. I think the Skeltons will know that they've got a decent horse there. And now, for the horse that Dan Skelton can do his ruthlessness on, Baron Noir for the Noel Feely Syndicate. Now, Noel Feely Syndicate have quite a few horses with Dan Skelton. The likes of Major Fortune and Hidden Histories. Could they send, or could Dan Skelton go to the Noel Feely Syndicate and go, we'll take Baron Noir now? Why would you want to take him? First of all, won a couple of races. Won a bumper at Punchestown, won a bumper at Plumpton. At Plumpton, beat Kingston Queen and Tip Top Tim, good form. And at Punchestown, beat El Keros, who was at that point ridden by David Maxwell. They also beat Killwater, Cocktail Brute, good form. They've then come out over hurdles and got beat. Finished second to Crystal Destraval. Back in third, just behind, was another Dan Skelton runner, Bossman Jack. Dan will look at that and go, well, I like Bossman Jack, quite a good horse. Baron Noir's beaten us, but has disappointed. Connections we know. Let's go and get him. Let's go and get Baron Noir. Keep an eye out for Baron Noir to see if he moves to Dan Skelton. If he does, back him next time. They're going to be trying to win with it, and I think he will win. So there's a couple there from the same race, Baron Noir and Rialco, who both finished behind Sober Glory and in front of Act of Innocence. I do have one more question that I will answer later on in the video, because we will be talking about our analysis, and that's about one of the races. So starting off looking at the first race, the 11:55 at Newbury. Who do I like here? We've already highlighted it. Kingston Queen. So why do we like Kingston Queen? Well, we've just actually mentioned Kingston Queen, haven't we? Beating Baron Noir, or Baron Noir beat Kingston Queen? Baron Noir beat Kingston Queen. Since then, she's done really well, including finishing third behind Shoalin in a Grade 2 bumper, once again demonstrating the form of Baron Noir. Baron Noir is a good horse. Alan King let them down by finishing second in a novice hurdle, etc, etc. Anyway, go back to this race, Liam. So Kingston Queen then went to Chepstow this season, started off life in a maiden hurdle, winning, beating Cryptic Jim for Joe Tizard. Cryptic Jim has come out and won at Ascot, beating Larico for Dan Skelton, a horse I like. Cryptic Jim was a good winner that day, and Cryptic Jim had previously been beaten by Kingston Queen. I don't see any negatives about Kingston Queen. I think the horse is very, very good. And I think she is going to take all of the beating in this Mayor's Novice Hurdle. We highlighted this Tuesday and again on Thursday. I don't know whether I caught that. I pressed pause on my video. And you can see that she's now being really well supported. Not a surprise. I think she's the one to beat here. I think she's going to run a huge race, and yeah, all the form stacks up. That you can, even use today's winner, Act of Innocence. You can get back to Kingston Queen within a couple of clicks using the form line. Kingston Queen takes all of the beating here. She was a bigger price yesterday. I think they were joint favourites with La Conquière. All the money's now for Kingston Queen already. So that's the first race at Newbury. The second one at Newbury, the 12:30. Who do we like here? Bit of a bigger price one here. Barloo for Nicky Henderson, who has just had that winner, Act of Innocence, in the first race at Newbury. I think Nicky Henderson's going to have a good couple of days at Newbury. Obviously, it started well. I mentioned that I thought he was going to have a good couple of days. That isn't after timing. Why do I like Barloo? The last time he ran at Newbury, over 2 mile 4, he actually beat Scarface. Well, interestingly, if we look at the odds for this race, Scarface is the favourite, and Barloo is out here at as big as 20-1. And on their runnings, Barloo was giving £1 to Scarface that day. Tomorrow, they're off levels. So he gave him £1, he beat him by 1.5, and this time he is £1 better off. I don't see why he doesn't run a really big race here. The form of that race has worked out well. Scarface has come out and won. That's why he's now higher in the handicap. Excuse me. The third horse, Saint Segal, has come out and won as well. The fifth horse has come out and won. The fifth horse is actually rated 144 now, from 128, 145 even from 128, and was last seen beating Blue King Daru in the intermediate chase. Just good form. That race at Newbury worked out really well. He doesn't stay 3 miles, so I think his return was, there was reasons for him disappointing. He pulled up. I don't mind the form of that race even. The horse who was back in 5th that day, Neon Moon, has come out and won. It was probably a decent race. And Barlow only went off 11-2 that day, and yet was never travelling. Just forgive him that run. Drops back in trip, comes back to Newbury, off the same mark as when he went off 11-2 for a similar handicap. Isn't he a massive price here? 18s and 20s. I think he is. So he's my second selection of the day. That's Barlow under James Bowen at Newbury. We have form lines with the favourite, Scarface. We're better off at the weights with Scarface. We're back at Newbury, and we're back to the trip that he wants. We move on to the 105 at Newbury. We don't like that race. We move on to the 140 at Newbury. And the horse that I like here is another Nicky Henderson horse, another one dropping back in trip. That's East India Express, who this year has disappointed. Fell at Cheltenham, pulled up at... Where did he pull up? Newbury. Fell at Cheltenham, pulled up at Newbury. You would look at that and go, that's really disappointing. And it was. But doesn't stay 3 miles. And I think that was the reason he disappointed last time. Never really travelling either. And at Cheltenham, we don't know. He fell too early. He went off 4-1 favourite. And 7-2 last time. He went off 11-4 favourite when winning at Cheltenham in April. He went off 4-1 for the Martin Pipe. He'd won a couple of races, including winning at Ascot, beating Double Powerful. He's previously been to Newbury and ran a good race behind making headway in a novice hurdle, so the track isn't an issue. It's not like the track beat him last time out. He went off 9-4 previously for a race against Gidley Park. It's just good form, isn't it? And if this had been his first run of the season, he would be 7-2. It's not. He's had a couple of disappointing runs. He's out to 15-2. Can we give him excuses for those? Well, he fell. That's one. Yeah, you can forgive that. And he pulled up over the wrong trip. I think you can forgive that. Drops back in trip. Comes back to Newbury. Nicky Henderson, I think, is going to have a good weekend. I think he's overpriced. You can currently get 15-2 about him. So yeah, East India Express on the back of 2 poor runs is being priced accordingly based on that. And considering he went off 4-1 favourite for a good handicap at Cheltenham, and then 7-2 for the Temps qualifier at Newbury, off marks of 137, now that he's down to 135, isn't he even better? You know, better in the handicap. I don't see any reason why he doesn't run a big race. I think he'll either run a really big race or pull up and they'll go, there's something wrong with him and that could be him done for the season, or you might have to wait until March, April when suddenly he turns a corner again. Yeah, but I think he can bounce back here, and I think there's excuses for those last 2 runs. Moving on to the 215 at Newbury. Who do I like here? Indemnity. And let's have a look at the price. Why do I like Indemnity whilst that loads? Very, very progressive horse. Won 3 of his last 4. The only time he got beat, he was beaten by Alexei, but that was at Ascot. Alexei that day was running off 127. He's now rated 147. And bizarrely, Indemnity, who was running off a mark of 121, is only rated 122. He's a pound higher. I've highlighted, and actually a few people have highlighted this week, a horse called Willful, who looks very well handicapped on the basis of his runs behind Alexei and Celtic Dino in the Welsh Champion Hurdle. Indemnity is exactly the same. The horse had been winning his races and then has bumped into a ridiculously well handicapped horse. Even if we go back to his previous effort when he was 3rd at Market Raisin in a novice hurdle, he was not beaten that far by Wellington Arch. Now, Wellington Arch has since come out and won a feature handicap at Aintree and then finished 3rd at Punchestown in another good handicap. He's rated 133. Indemnity is still only rated 122. I think he's got great form, to be fair, and I don't see any reason why he can't run a huge race here and continue to demonstrate that he is progressive. You know, the likes of Indivar Bleu, is it Live Conti or Live Conti? I think it's Live Conti. Live Conti, maybe Viviani, could be well handicapped, but are they likely to be an Alexei well handicapped horse? Probably not, to be fair. And with that in mind, and the fact that Indemnity actually travelled like the winner at Ascot, I think he's the one to be on here, and he's currently 9-2. I would have him favourite. So that's the 2:15 at Newbury. Let's move on to the 2:55 at Newbury, which is the feature race of the day, the Coral Gold Cup. We've already highlighted who we like here a couple of times now. They are Highland and Victorino. We'll start with Victorino, as we actually posted this one as an early selection for this race. Why do I like Victorino? 2 seasons ago, he won. First time up in the Sodexo Live Gold Cup of a mark of 138. Okay, he's rated 147 now, but he did win that very impressively. What that demonstrates is he can win first time up. Last season, what did he do first time up? Well, he actually came to this race and he finished 3rd. But go back and watch the race. Everything went wrong. He was out with the washing early on. Didn't travel, didn't jump. Charlie Deutsch, what? If it had been Nico de Boinville, he would have given up and pulled up. As soon as he gets behind Nico de Boinville, he gives them a really easy time and pulls them up, or just walks them home. Charlie Deutsch clearly felt there was a lot more still in the horse, and he's like, you're just not running forward for me. Get going. Turning for home, still last. Jumping the 3rd last, couldn't see him because too far back. Jumping the 2nd last, still couldn't see him. Jumping the last, still no idea where Victorino is. And then, all of a sudden, up the running, Victorino appears in shot. He's absolutely motoring. Suddenly, he's picked up the bridle and he's gone, okay, I will now run and consent to run forward. If he had just kept in touch last season, he would have won. He would have won that race. He would have gone up to like 150, 152, 154 sort of mark. It would have been really, really impressive. The amount of ground he made up late on. I think he would have won it comfortably. He comes here off a £4 higher mark. And I don't think that's an issue. And I don't think first time up is an issue, because he ran well in it last year when it didn't go to plan, and he also won the season before first time up. And then you look at Venetia's form, you're like, okay, but Venetia Williams' horses are out of form. Well, to be fair to them, they have had a winner with, was it Girl's Best Friend yesterday, beating Nedsaw quite comfortably, winning by 5 lengths, so at least they've had a winner. And last weekend they had 2 good seconds, with Royal Pagaille being beaten by our selection Grey Dawning, and our selection Martator running a never near a second behind Calico, when Ned Fox probably gave the horse a bit too much to do. We're hoping we don't get the same sort of, not the same sort of ride, but the same sort of outcome tomorrow. A never near a second from Victorino because he refused to run early again. I think if he starts off nicely and he's involved and he can sit mid-division, I think he's going to run a huge race here. The second horse we also like in this race is Highland, who I feel might have been given a prep run for this race at Cheltenham in a good race. I feel it was a prep run though, and it's actually worked out quite well already, with a horse behind him, Rock My Way, who finished 10th, coming out and winning the Berkshire National at Ascot last week. The horse who finished 3rd that day, Ho Jolly Smoke, has gone and finished a good 3rd in the Paddy Power Gold Cup. The form looked quite strong anyway. It looked a good race anyway. And I just feel that it was a Nico de Boinville. I'm not getting him involved here. I have no interest of winning this. Off the back of that, he dropped £2. He dropped £2 to 145. And he's actually beaten Resplendent Grey, giving that horse £3. Well, Resplendent Grey tomorrow has to give Highland £8. So he beat him, giving him 3. He gets 8 this time. He's £11 better off. Previously beat him at Cheltenham in a novice chase. Why can Resplendent Grey turn that form around? I'm not sure. And yet, if you look at the odds, should have loaded that up first. There we go. Resplendent Grey is down here at 6s, 13 to 2. Highland is nearly double the price in places. 10s, 11s, 12s. Don't get it. I really feel that Highland is the one to be on here. Or one of the two that I really like here. He went off 11-4 Highland for the feature handicap at Kempton last season when he bumped into the ridiculously well handicapped Qatar Dore that day. Qatar Dore is up 12 for that, and Highland is down 2 from then. Again, you wouldn't have Qatar Dore about the same sort of price as Highland, in my opinion. I don't see why. I think Highland is overpriced. I think Victorino is overpriced. Just going back to Victorino, you've got to remember that horse went off 5-1 for this race last year. And he's 14s this year. Highland is too big as well, based on it was a prep run. He's beaten Resplendent Grey. He's got the form in the book. They've clearly expected a lot in that he's gone off short price favourites, a short price favourite for a good handicap. He only went up 11-2 for the grade 1 behind the Jukebox Man. I mean, there's plenty to like about Highland. Second season novice. I think he's going to run a really big race here. And finally, the last race at Newbury. There are more races to come, so not just doing these races. The final race at Newbury, though, who do I like here? It is Rare Edition. Why do I like Rare Edition, and what price is he? Rare Edition was last seen finishing second. He is 11-2. Finishing second to Thistle Ask. That's frustrating. What's even more frustrating, if you backed him that day, you bumped into one. Thistle Ask was running off a mark of 115. That horse is now rated 144. Rare Edition had no chance. And yet he only went off 9-4. Went off 9-4. And the previous time before that at Doncaster, he went off 16-5. What silly odds they are. 16-5 for a good handicap. The horse back in third that day was Calico, who's come out and won twice this season. Rare Edition fell that day. Clearly more has been expected of him since he's had the wind surgery. Going off 16-5 and 9-4 in races where there's been some really smart progressive horses. Even the winner of the Doncaster race, Brookie, was winning that off a mark of 130. He's now rated 148. He's got... In hindsight, again, he had no chance. And yet he still went off 16-5. Connections clearly believe that he's going to go really close, arguably when he doesn't bump into one. If he had stood up, maybe he would have finished second. And if he'd finished second and been beaten by Brookie, who's now up 18, and been beaten by Thistle Ask, who's up 29, dropping a pound looks ridiculous. Or dropping £2 from Doncaster. He's £2 lower from Doncaster. He's £1 lower from Kelso. Looks ridiculous. I think he's got a great chance here. Is General Madrano or Javert Hélène one of those horses that are ridiculously well handicapped? Not in my opinion. I think they're shorter prices because they've both got course and distance form. There's actually 4 in this race with course and distance form. Etalon and Ralph Gall Hill also in there. And I think that's why we're getting a price about Rare Edition. If this had been at... I'm going to guess now. Doncaster. I don't know whether some of the others have form at Doncaster. If it had been at Doncaster and none of those had course and distance form, Rare Edition would be a shorter price, even on the back of his fall, because they would go, well, we don't know whether Etalon, Ralph Gorhill, Javert Hélène and General Madrano will travel or like this course. They're taking into account that they do, those 4, and we don't know about Rare Edition. But if Rare Edition takes to the course, I think he is the one to beat. So that's Newbury. We then move on to Newcastle, and we're going to start with the big race of the day at Newcastle, the Fighting Fifth. I'm a Constitution Hill fan. And I like Constitution Hill for a couple of reasons. So, first of all, this time last season, he returned to form, or returned to for the season, beat Lossiemouth by 2.5 lengths. They were clear of Burdett Road and Lump Sum. I don't think that's bad form, beating Lossiemouth, who was getting £7. I think that was just... I think Lossiemouth is really good. Really good. And yet Constitution Hill beat her comfortably, giving her £7. And I would argue that the New Lion's probably on a par. I don't know about Amsterdam because he's got it all to do in terms of, is he good enough? Kind of feel they're thinking, we don't know who our champion hurdle horse is. We're going to try Amsterdam. So that was last season. 2 seasons ago, he beat Stateman. Sorry, he beat Stateman in the Champion Hurdle. 2 seasons ago, on his return, he beat Rabaul by 9.5 at Kempton. Granted, it's only Rabaul, but it was at Kempton, where Rabaul loves. Season before that, he beat Epatante in the Fighting Fifth by 12 lengths. Epatante by 12 lengths. And the year before that, he beat Mai Tai. Now, Mai Tai did all right, to be fair. And Constitution Hill beat Mai Tai by 14 lengths. So first time up is a good time to catch Constitution Hill. The New Lion, I'd worry about whether he's got the speed for this. They started him last season over 2 miles 3. And then they went up in trip, 2.5, 2.5. They never, and then even at Cheltenham, 2 mile 5. They didn't drop him back to 2 mile. They didn't go for the Supreme Novice. They went for the Turners. If there was a grade 1 over 2.5, that's what the New Lion would be aimed at. Because there's not, that's why they're aiming him at the Champion Hurdle. They obviously don't quite feel that the Stayers it's not as big a race. Winning the Stayers Hurdle does not get you as much accolade as winning the Champion Hurdle. The New Lion appeared to me to need every yard of that 2 mile 5 as well. How can he beat Constitution Hill, therefore, over 2 miles at Newcastle? I'm not so sure. I really don't think he can. I think Amsterdam is the biggest danger, not the New Lion. Because we don't know how good Amsterdam is. He's been winning his races comfortably, but he's not been beating anything, in my opinion. Beacon Edge was the last horse he beat. Or Beacon Edge Beacon Edge would be 66 to 1 for this. Just having a look. Beacon Edge was last seen running in handicaps at 40s and 80s, and yeah, I mean, he's just not good enough, is he? Okay, he come out and won at Wexford in a claiming hurdle. Yeah, exactly. So Amsterdam hasn't beaten anything yet, could be good, but really needs to step up. Constitution Hill has been there and done it. Now, the question that I had from Jimmy Roberts, I think, or James Roberts. James Roberts, apologies if you don't like being called Jimmy. James Roberts was, if the New Lion gets beat here, is he worth backing in the Champion Hurdle? Not for me, to be honest. I think if he gets beat here, he demonstrates that he doesn't have the pace for the 2 mile, unless he goes down by a neck, and he gives Constitution Hill a real good run and then drifts. But if he does that, he's not going to drift. I think we might find him off the bridle early. Constitution Hill is kicking away, and then the New Lion consents to run on towards the finish. Maybe starts to close down on Amsterdam, but Constitution Hill's gone. Would I then be backing him for the Champion Hurdle, the New Lion? No, I just think it will demonstrate that he doesn't have the pace for this. So yeah, that was another question we had from James Roberts. Would you be backing the New Lion if he gets beat in this? Probably not. I'd have to watch how the race unfolded, and also what the prices happened. If the New Lion gets beat by Constitution Hill by a neck and then drifts to 20 to 1, absolutely. But that's not going to happen. So answering a question like that is always a little bit tricky, but I don't think anything's going to work out there, personally, with the New Lion. Moving on to the next race at Newcastle, it's the 235, where we like Hamsian. We're going to give him another chance. Good old Hamsian at 9 to 2. Now, he actually went off 22 to 1 last time out in a handicap at at Cheltenham. Drifted badly that day. That wasn't encouraging. And then unseated really early. But I think what's interesting is the trainer has left him here, basically. He's not brought him back, taken him back over to Ireland. He's gone, look, we've got a nicely handicapped horse. We'll leave him there. We'll find a different race for him. Maybe this is it at Newcastle. I do like him. I do think he's well handicapped. The trip is fine. I thought he would run a big race last time off 121. He's still off 121, obviously, because he unseated. He's only a 5-year-old. I don't see why he doesn't run a big race here. The Dan Skelton horse is favourite because it's Dan Skelton, Harry Skelton, running in a handicap. Is that good enough form, though? I don't know. The last time out effort behind Wandering Ego and Park Talk, Wandering Ego went off the 6 to 5 favourite. They won by 19 lengths. But he has come out and been beaten since. He went to Kempton and got... he was disappointing, finishing only 4th. Okay, it was a decent race, but he was only 4th. He didn't back that up and really frank that form. Brace for Landing was miles behind. I don't think Brace for Landing is incredibly well handicapped. So yeah, Hamsian is our selection there at 9-2. We keep going. The next one we want to talk about, we've got 3 to go. The next one is in the 3:15, the Rehearsal Chase. This time we are going to go for the Skeltons. Deafening Silence. I believe this horse is well handicapped, and I believed he was well handicapped all last season. And yet his handicap mark actually stuck at 133 all season. Until today. He's dropped a pound. I think that's good enough, to be fair. His effort on his return last season was probably his best bit of form, and that's when I looked at him and went, well, he's well handicapped. He got beat by Trelawn, Iroko, in front of Hillcrest and Tamuras. They're all rated in the 140s and 150s. Deafening Silence was rated 133. He's now rated 132. It wasn't the worst effort from Deafening Silence that day, and he's since come out and run a couple of good races. Okay, he had no chance at Cheltenham in a graded race behind Django Bay. Second to Heracles Westwood. We like Heracles Westwood. We thought he was well handicapped that day. He won off 124. Heracles Westwood is now rated, just looking on my other screen, was rated 124. He's now rated 127, so he's up a few pounds and ran a good race at Cheltenham. I think that horse will win next time out as well, Heracles Westwood. If you remember, he's got a very good record second time up. Deafening Silence ran a good race against him. Actually, behind him that day, Maya Town fell. Kintara was only 4th. Barloo, who we liked earlier on in the card, pulled up. I just think that was a good race. He did get a win under his belt, winning at Warwick, and then disappointed in a novice handicap chase at the end of the season at Uttoxeter. It might have just been one run too many for him that season. I think he comes here fresh. Well, he does come here fresh. Haven't run for 259 days. The 3 at the head of the market all haven't had a run, which is key. Jasmine de Grugy, I'm saying Confusion is slightly bigger price because he's just a little bit on the exchanges. Deafening Silence, Cruise Control and Jasmine de Grugy all haven't had a run, so it shouldn't be Fitness that catches Deafening Silence out. That's not what I think he's going to get beaten by if he gets beat. I don't think he will. I think he'll win this race and demonstrate that 132 is a low handicap mark for him. Moving on, 2 more to go. We start off in the 12:09 at Fairyhouse. Who do we like here? True Testimony. Let's see if we need to refresh this yet. 12:09. No odds currently. However, I think this horse might be a bigger price than it should be. Because last time out, it went off 66-1 for a race at Cheltenham. And for a long way, I actually thought we were going to go really close because we were on it that day. Went off 66-1. I thought he was going to run a really nice race. And he did, to be fair. He finished 6th. The 5th horse has come out and won. The 3rd horse should have come out and won. The 4th horse has come out and done okay. Went off favourite, I think, next time out. They were all better horses than what she's taking on here. This looks a much easier race. It's a mare's handicap. Drops in class massively. If we can get anything above like 5-6-1 sort of thing, I'll be very happy with that. I think we're going to get 12s, 14s here. About True Testimony back into this grade is really key. Been to this track a couple of times, has done well. Finished 2nd in April 2025 in a mare's listed handicap chase off 120. Runs here off 123, but Mr. Dunn takes 7 off. Also came here, finished 2nd in a mare's maiden hurdle, beaten by Spindleberry, who's now being aimed at the Gold Cup. And also finished 2nd behind Sadler Up in a maiden hurdle, also at Fairyhouse. So 3 times at Fairyhouse, 3 runner-up performances. Actually, there was one other in a beginner's chase, finished 5th. But against the likes of Zenta, Pagan, Miss Manzor. In hindsight, had no chance there, did she? She's not of that level, but yeah, I think this got really good form at Fairyhouse. That was a really good effort last time out, and this is a massive step down in class for me. And finally, the last horse we want to talk about, I don't know whether we're going to see any prices for it at the moment. We're not, and this all comes down to the price. Actually, did they just load them up? No. All comes down to the price. The horse that's interesting is Idaho Sun. He's not interesting. He wins this race for me. It's all about what price we can get about Idaho Sun. If we can get anything, even money or bigger would be amazing. I don't think we will. This horse has great form. 6th in a champion bumper. Come out and won, beat Gaelic Pride and Bespoke Taylor. They both went to Cheltenham, finished 2nd and 3rd again. In a good race when the Dan Skelton horse, a Soldier Reeves, that we put up, went and won the race. I think it's great form. To be fair, Idaho Sun went off 4-9 last time for that maiden hurdle. We're not going to get anywhere near even money. But if you want a horse that's probably could be used in doubles or trebles as a little boost, Idaho Sun is probably that. We're not going to get a price about Idaho Sun though. It's going to be really, really short. So they are my selections. We also talked a little bit about a couple of horses to Fia Nagmi, spoke about Khrisma for Michael O'Connor, and mentioned the New Lion, why I don't think he'll be worth backing even if he gets beat in the champion hurdle, in the Fighting Fifth, for James Roberts. Hope we have a good day. Could do with, would like some winners, and we've obviously just had a winner with Mambo number 5, who did demonstrate that he was still ahead of his mark. Maybe it wasn't as impressive as I was hoping, but did get to the front too soon. Go back and watch his Aintree race. Left it a lot later than this time round. They'll revert tactics next time and be waiting even longer. There could be still more to come from member number 5. Thanks for listening. Have a great weekend, and fingers crossed for lots of winners.